interceptions in the early in his career, 45-12, and then the last 2 years, 4 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. It's not good. You deserve that, okay? If you're listening on the podcast.
Okay.
Do the Chiefs have to get these plays back to make the Super Bowl?
No. I don't see how you could sit here and say anything but no. Like, the last 2 years, they haven't had them, and they've been, in the Super Bowl. Now, and the last 2 years, they had the 15th ranked offense in each of those last 2 years. Now, I'd love to see it. Everybody knows, of course, I want to see it. And I just think Mahomes wants to do it. Like, when
you know what? Fake news hat is fake news is real. I can report that as true. I can report. Sources close to Patrick.
This is what it was, and I bet Greg feels the same way. When you are a superstar, when you have that ability, you want to play like a superstar. Of course you want to win, but you want to play like a superstar. If you're a role player, if you're just a game manager, then I don't really care as much about the stats. I'm just trying to win. And, of course, I know Mahomes, that's the number one thing. But still, when I got that, if I can average 25 points a game, and I've done it several years, and I'm that level of player, I want to average 25. I don't want to average 15. I'm sorry. And I've said this, Nick.
Setting picks out there.
Yeah, I mean, really. I give Mark Aguirre credit. I know that's way back. But he's the one of the few guys that ever went to a team that was a star player and willingly said, I'm just going to be a role player. I've said this, Nick, is like Mahomes the last 2 years. It's kind of like LeBron in his prime averaging 15 or 17 points. Hitting the game-winning shot, playing well in the fourth. But still, I don't think LeBron James would be satisfied with averaging 15 points when he can give you 27, 7, and 7. So I think Mahomes wants to do it, and I hope he does.
Yeah, I think they do.
That they have to.
They have to.
I think they have to. And clearly, they've been able to get to the Super Bowl with grinding out these wins. But you mentioned something, and you just reported it. Like, Mahomes doesn't want to continue to have to grind these games out. Like, and when you think about the type of offense that they have the potential to be, if this is something that they add back into who they are, it's just even more scary for every defensive coordinator and every defense to have the ability for your quarterback to methodically move the ball down the field, knowing we better not let him get the ball last, because it doesn't matter where he's at on the field, he can execute. But also, now they're striking right away. So that they're striking with 1 or 2 plays. What can we do? What can we that? Just having that in the back of your mind as a defender, that is problematic, and it bodes well for the offense.
So listen, I think that they have to do it in order to get the swagger back, which is, what you're alluding to. Because I understand it was a weird confluence of events that led to this, which is the way they won their last 2 Super Bowls, the actual Super Bowl games, and then the way the season 2 years ago went. The Super Bowl against Philly, they scored 38 points, and the longest play from scrimmage all game was the Mahomes one-legged run. You know what I mean? So, that was all. And he won league MVP that year, and it was a lot of short passes, but he still threw for 5,000, had
41
the next year, the offense is broken with the drops, and in the Super Bowl, arguably the two biggest drives of Mahomes' life to tie the Super Bowl, 11 plays, 64 yards, no huge ones. And then in overtime in the Super Bowl, a 13-play, 75-yard drive where, once again, the longest play is Mahomes running. So they did it that way, and it worked. And then last year they have everything going on. But here's why I think it's important. Because in the Super Bowl, I think one of the listen, the offensive line broke down, and maybe Philly's going to win that game no matter what. But one of the reasons I felt Patrick pressed was because being down 14 for last year's Chiefs team for the first time ever felt like a lot.
Oh, that's interesting.
You know what I mean? Like they
gotta get it back
before
right now.
they had ever won anything, they were down 24 in a playoff game.
Yeah.
And nobody was stressed.
Nope.
It was like, all right, it's going to be hard, but that's what's 24. That's probably like 9 plays if we do it properly. And I think that's what led to some of the Mahomes mistakes was he didn't think we're going to be able to get 7 back here. It's like, I got to bang, I methodically do it. And so that's why I think it's important.
Yeah. No. We talk about football, right, being a game of inches, a game of inches, a game of inches. And honestly, that expression pretty much kind of means different things at different times, right? It literally could be like, oh, you were just this close to getting the first down, or, whatever it may be. Sometimes it's just, you just didn't catch the ball. You were right there. The field goal hits the post, like whatever, the upright. But with the Kansas City Chiefs, because they are so well coached, both offensively and defensively, as well as on the field being led, obviously, by none other than Patrick Mahomes. Throw away the whole, of course, Patrick Mahomes wants to put up better numbers and get the swagger and all that type of stuff. Like, that's all well and good. And for other teams, I'd say maybe it's an important thing. But especially considering how much the Chiefs have already won, how much Andy and Spags and Mahomes have already won, I just do not think it's necessary. Now, if their defense takes a step back, then yes. Right? If their defense doesn't continue to be this suffocating and this ruthless in the biggest moments, right? Really stepping up huge and big moments, then fine. But where I disagree with Nick is because like they were pretty much in this back and forth shootout with the Buffalo Bills in the conference championship game. And I know it's not like down by 14 or down by 21 like in a traditional sense, but like there's still the feeling of like I gotta put up points. We gotta get after it. And that's where Andy Reid is the ultimate magician with just making do with an offense and finding ways to still move the ball down the field no matter who you have out there, no matter who it is. And Patrick Mahomes is essentially never going to make a mistake in a way that puts you at a disadvantage. If you had a quarterback who couldn't do that as consistently and as reliably, then yes, I would agree. That's why I never bought into the whole, well, the Kansas City Chiefs won, whatever the heck it was, 10 one-score games. They can't expect to do that year. And it's like, well, as long as Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are leading that offense, like, I don't care who's out there. I don't care what the O-line looks like. I don't care who the receivers are. Because at the end of the day, it's about the decision-making. Both Andy decision-making, play call, play design, game plan, and Patrick Mahomes' decision-making. Where you would question maybe some of these other quarterbacks to be able to make that right decision game after game after game, moment after moment after moment. 2 minutes ago, fourth quarter after fourth quarter after fourth quarter. Then it's just like, all right. But that's where that trust of Mahomes comes from. Now, it's exhausting. Patrick Mahomes has talked about that. Winning games this way it's exhausting. It's tough. It is. It's mentally draining. It's mentally draining. I always try to compare this to like the fan experience. Think about when you're watching a football game and your team's up by 14 and it's the fourth quarter and there's 6 minutes to go and you just feel like your team's in control. I promise you, the players can feel a same degree of that. In fact, a lot of coaches are always trying to be like, it's not over, it's not over. Don't lose focus, don't lose focus. And sometimes when you do lose a game like that, it's like, because you lost focus, right? You lost focus. But like when it's close and you're all tight and you're like, feels like, and the commentators say, it just feels like whoever has the ball last is going to come away with the win. And you're all, tense about it. And you're like, oh my God. Players feel that way too. And it does. It can be exhausting. I mean, we always hear fans be like, that removed years off my life. And it's just like, believe me, players can feel a lot of that as well. Obviously, it's going to be different when you're a player and when you're a fan sitting at home. But like, it's stressful. It's exhausting. There's no room to just kind of like, take a breath here. And Patrick Mahomes has essentially said that. He's essentially said that. I think he even referenced, because he was just like, I was trying to find a clip of him saying that he's nervous, and he's just like, I'm nervous like you are at home. Like he said this like during one of his some press conference. I don't think it was last year. It might have been like the year before that, but I forget exactly. Definitely within the last couple of years. And he's talked about like, yeah, man, it's tough. It's exhausting. So, I could see that, but I'm just not worried about Patrick Mahomes like getting burnout or something, or like Andy Reid's bags getting burnout. Like they're too great, and what they're trying to achieve is too great. Right? They're trying to win 7 Super Bowls. They're trying to win another 4 Super Bowls in the next 10 years, I guess, maybe, 10 years, which is hard. That's a lot, obviously, right? That's a lot. But that's what it's about. And so, this question is silly. KC need explosive offense to return the Super Bowl? No. If the defense drops off, then I guess so. But even then, I wouldn't even say so. Because I just trust Kansas City's ability to manage a game. And I trust Patrick Mahomes' ability to manage a game. And I don't even mean that in like a game manager, like in a traditional sense. I mean that in the sense of like understanding what needs to be done in any given moment. When the Kansas City Chiefs need an explosive play, they were able to get an explosive play. It's not that they were incapable of doing it. Like that's kind of a difference key point. The only time that they really actually just could not do it was against the Philadelphia Eagles. And that was against the best team in the NFL. So it's just like, okay. So the better question should be, do they need an explosive offense to win the Super Bowl? That would be probably a fairer question than just to return to the Super Bowl. Because to me, it's not about the rosters in the NFL this year in terms of like who's going to get to the Super Bowl, especially in the AFC. It's going to remain until something finally changes where I'm just like, who is going to have the best game plan? Who is going to put their team in the best position to succeed? Are you banking on Harbaugh doing that for Lamar and Sean McDermott doing that for Josh Allen? Or are you banking on Spags and Andy doing that for Patrick Mahomes? So to me, it's not about rosters. It's not about who can get the most explosive plays. Until you run up to just a better roster and a better team like the Eagles proved. But have the Bills and the Ravens created that? I would argue that they had in the past, but yet with the game plans and coaching and plan of attack, they did not put their players in positions to get the job done. So it's just like, there you go. So I think in a lot of ways, until the Bills, a lot of people always try to turn it into the quarterback, until Lamar or Josh, and it's not about that to me. But until those franchises prove that they can actually maximize their team in the moments that matter most, aka the playoffs, and then therefore by default up against the Kansas City Chiefs, it's just like, I'll believe it when I see it in that regard, at least in terms of making predictions in August, right? My tune can change in November or something when I'm seeing how these teams are playing and what the quality of play is and the rosters and injuries and all of that. But in terms of like, if we're just going to have this conversation, can KC reach the Super Bowl? It's like, well, if we're going to have this type of conversation, it's just like, it's so much more to me about not what Kansas City Chiefs need to do. It's what do the Buffalo Bills and the Ravens and, whoever need to do in order to stop the Chiefs from doing that. Which to me is like, can you actually just play like a great team when it matters? Because that's what it all came down to in the Super Bowl. The Philadelphia Eagles were able to be a great team and play like a great team when it mattered most. Like that became the fundamental difference. And so you got the Super Bowl that you got. I don't think it needs to be that much more complicated. I think it's honestly pretty straightforward. And to me, a question like this is just one of those. We want to talk about the Kansas City, put it in that category where it's like we want to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. So what can we talk about, right? And it's like, and it's fine, it's fair game because you need a jumping off point. I do it with random clips where it's like, they just say like one sentence, and I'm like, perfect jumping off point, let's talk about it. But it's just like, from an actual football sense, from an actual like, we got to figure this out, how do we maximize the Kansas City Chiefs this year? Something like that. It's just like, no. Because, and people are going to take this as like such a negative, but even Nick pretty much said it in this very clip. You know, they were able to still have explosive offenses with short passing. I mean, and again, Andy is a yak mastermind. And so as long as you have Andy, again, if it was any other coach, I would think, I don't know. But you have Andy. And so if your offense is ever in a position where you need to really shorten the field and really maximize these short, you know, these short throws, these quick concepts, Andy's been doing it from day one of his career, okay? And it is just pure perfection. So, not worried about it. Definitely not worried about it. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Kansas City Chiefs? Do you think KC and Patrick Mahomes, for that matter, need to be more explosive to return to the Super Bowl? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. It's whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be a part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.